Hello, welcome back to the Yard. Luke here again for another episode this week, and this is episode 13, lucky number 13, and I guess this is now the ninth consecutive episode that's been released every Monday, so I'm pretty impressed with the fact that me and Alex actually stuck to our weekly release schedule. Well, actually, no, that would be 8 weeks because the Selby podcast was 2 parts, so, well, I guess this is a full 2-month anniversary then. I never thought anything involving the world of backyard wrestling would actually stay kind of consecutive and consistent, but there you go. Today's episode, I'll be talking to UVW's own Del. Del, who also made a comeback in 2006 to NAW and had a kind of a short run there, just over a year or so, but had a lot of great matches, and that's how I know him. That's how most of us know Del, was when he came back to NAW, but he has history dating back to, again, the early days of UBW and stuff like that, so it's interesting to hear his story. Now, this is kind of going to be a tale of two podcasts almost, because I recorded just over an hour with Del, and then we finished up, and then we just kept on talking on Skype, catching up for about an hour and 20 minutes, and that was just a loose, conversation of us just chatting, basically. Didn't realize at the time that my Skype recording program had actually retained all of that, and I realized that we talked more backyard, we talked some more stories, so I thought maybe I can use that. So I asked Del, can I use some of that other stuff that I didn't realize I recorded? He said sure, just don't put in that or that, which I won't say what it is, obviously. But the thing is, that's why it's taken me so long to release this one, because this one was recorded about 2 months ago, in fact, back when I started recording these. And I do feel bad that it's taken this long to get around to posting it, but I kind of figured that the Selby podcast, the Farage podcast, would be a bit more enticing to people, and hopefully they would get more into the idea of the podcast, so that they would check out this one. But also at the same end of that, I was just waiting to find the time to edit all the bonus stuff into this podcast, but I didn't end up having the time to do it. So if anyone enjoys this podcast and they want to hear more from Del, I still have all that like hour and 20 minutes of stuff to kind of maybe cull about another 40 minutes of stuff into it. I'd have to really edit it because, again, lots of pauses. We're just having a normal conversation, doing other stuff at the same time, if you know what I mean. Anyway, this is the longest intro so far. Let's get right on with it. Here is my conversation with Del. Hope you enjoy.
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's good to hear your voice. It's been a while.
Long time no speak, yeah.
Yeah. So you ready to just jump right into this?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll just go straight for it. Yeah, I think it's been about 7 years since I properly spoke to you.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's mad. So how are you doing now post BYW? It's been many years now, but what are you up to?
Pretty much same old stuff. I'm working. I work for HP now. I'm a technical mentor, which is like second level support.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, just living and enjoying life.
Yeah, man. Cool. Do you watch much wrestling these days, or?
I do, but I don't watch it on a weekly basis. I only sort of watch like the big events like WrestleMania and Royal Rumble and stuff like that. But I don't normally watch them live. I'll normally watch them a couple of days later.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess it gets to a point where, well, I don't even know actually how much of a fan you were, but I mean, I think a lot of us kind of go through phases where we just drop off from regularly viewing and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's I don't know, I kind of fell out with it sort of 5-6 years ago or so.
Yeah, when you kind of left backyard, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Right, well, see, I think we probably only really knew each other, what, maybe a year and a half, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Through the NAW days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know too much about your start in backyard wrestling, so if we could go back there, or even further back, when was your first kind of experience with just liking wrestling, if you can remember?
It pretty much probably when I was about 5-6. I used to go around to friends that just lived in the local area, and we used to watch WWF at the time on Sky. It wasn't obviously Raw or anything back then. I can't remember what the events were called, but it was sort of every Saturday I used to watch it around then. It was like Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, that kind of stuff back then. And I just used to love the characters more than the actual wrestling itself at the time, because you didn't really understand, being 6-7 years old, didn't really understand it. It was more about the characters back then.
Yeah. And when did you actually start like wrestling yourself? Because I was saying to GBH on the last podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all done that thing where we just play around wrestling. We don't really consider it, backyard wrestling. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, probably I did sort of play around wrestling then as well.
of course, yeah.
I suppose my first sort of experience semi backyarding was I used to go to the first school I went to. I went with Gary Lyons as well. Obviously, you know him.
Yeah.
So I've knew him since I was like 6, 7 years old, something like that. And later on, wasn't in that school, but later on when we went to secondary school, we met some people who also like wrestling. And we sort of, back then we sort of started emulating the wrestling that you saw on TV. I guess it was like 97, 98 maybe.
Yeah.
But it was more, we didn't do it planned or anything like that. It wasn't in that way. It was kind of shoot. So
I know what you
a
mean.
lot of the time, it was shoot but not fully shoot, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't a fight, but it was like, if you did a submission, it was a submission and things like that. So it was like, so that was that. And then I kind of didn't really get involved in it for a couple of years. And then I bumped into like Barnsley and Farage through school, and Gary kind of knew them, but they were already doing wrestling at that point, like backyard as we know it. They were doing it, planned,
Yeah.
not meant to hurt each other kind of thing. They were doing that, and I went along to a show about, I don't know, it was probably about 8 months after they had already been doing it. And then it just took off from there, and I said, I want to get involved in it and do it as well, and it went on from there.
Cool. So when did UVW start? Was that already a thing?
It was already a thing when I started.
Yeah.
I think it was around 2000 that they had already started doing it, and it was like middle of 2000, and I started doing it in 2001, I believe. It might have been 2001, 2002, but it was like, I was like the next year kind of thing.
Yeah.
After they had already been doing it. But the funny thing was, actually, to tell a funny story, they used to do it at school as well, and literally just attract like crowds of like 100 people to watch it. But Barnsley and Farage, everyone thought was real, the way that they did it in school, because they took it like to that level kind of thing. They were crazy.
I can imagine. What was it like wrestling with them and just UVW in general? And when did the you guys start wrestling in that college area?
That was when I joined. They started there when I joined. Before that, they had been just on some random field, where Barnsley lived. And then they moved there. I think they did a couple of shows before I started, but it was pretty much when I started that they started doing it around the same time at the college, which was a much better place to do it, to be honest, than that random field, because it was quite quiet, quite secluded.
Yeah.
There was no people passing by and things like that, and there was a couple of places that you could do it there as well.
What was it like wrestling with those guys?
It was definitely interesting, to say the least. I think it kind of evolved in the time I was there, but it was quite. They expected a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I think it was wasn't just them. Like, it wasn't just one person. Or that was a good thing. It wasn't one person running it. Everyone was running it. But if you were shit, you would be told you were shit. Basically.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it went there. But yeah, even though there wasn't one person sort of running it, I would say probably like Barnsley, maybe Richie, Chad, probably they were like had the last say on anything kind of thing, but there wasn't sort of one person running it. It was like everyone's ideas.
Cool. I was looking for this comp. I swear I had this comp on my laptop that was called Deltron. And I was looking for it and I found it and I was just flicking through it. And there's a bit where you're lighting this box on fire or something. I didn't quite make out what was going on. What was that all about? Must have been some kind of promo or something.
I think what it was, we were doing the angle. I think if it's the one I'm thinking was, we were doing some kind of angle where I put someone in a box and set it on fire. But the weird thing was, if it's the one I think it was, it didn't fucking set on fire. That was the stupid thing. So I just put the person in the box. I set it on fire. When we practiced it, it went up in a massive flame. But something happened. I can't remember. Someone had moved something or something like that. So when I set it on fire, it was just kind of like small flames. It didn't really work to the effect that we wanted it to work. That's one thing that we started doing though around the time again when I started going to UVW. They didn't really like Barnsley and Farage and stuff. They were more into like pure wrestling. Like they like really into ECW, whereas like some me, Richie and stuff, we were like more into WWF, WCW style.
Yeah.
So we started trying to bring like a little bit more story into it and things like that. And before that, they were just they just had matches. There was no meaning to it per se.
Yeah. So when did you start doing the whole Kane/Undertaker style of wrestling?
Straight away.
Straight away, yeah.
It was as soon as I joined, yeah.
And did that go down well with the UVW guys?
Yeah, they actually liked it. Like I said, there was the thing was back then when we started. I'm sure you were the same. It was kind of all about like hardcore wrestling stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it was like how extreme could you do kind of thing, barbed wire, flame tables, all that kind of jazz, light bulbs and everything like that. And I was into that, and I made that character sort of work with that as well. So yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, I was going to say there was another clip in that comp where you give someone a powerbomb through a flaming table, pretty nutty spot, and I was wondering how within your kind of WWE style wrestling, whether you like doing the hardcore stuff or
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
I think at the time though, it wasn't being young and things like that. It was kind of I didn't really know any difference, so I wasn't thinking of it that way. And at the time, it was kind of like who could do the biggest, craziest spots kind of thing. That's what it was kind of about.
Yeah, because when you came to NAW, I'd heard of you vaguely, but I'd never really seen you wrestle before.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw this comp, it's a great bit where I think Farage is giving you a pile driver, like a really nasty one. You just sit up straight away.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see that you were always doing that kind of character thing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you wrestle anywhere else during that time when you were with UVW?
Yes, that's how I met Farrell and stuff originally. Farrell, Pack, all them. What happened was I was in UVW for about a year, and then I think it was coming up to sort of the winter, or it was the autumn, and they tended not to do the wrestling then because the weather, and I'm sure it was originally Farage or Barnsley had met Farrell on the forums. I can't remember the story behind it exactly, but they met him anyway, and he came to one of our, it was him, Chris Bell, Obi, came to one of our shows, and we kind of met them through there. And then Farrell asked Farage to go to one of the NAW events, which was kind of like just about a couple of mile away, 4 or 5 mile away or something like that. And he went, and then me and Gary went the next week after that. And then we started doing some of the original NAW shows.
Yeah.
And just after that, I went to FXW as well, and I was there for, I think it was about 2 years. I was actually there longer than I was in UVW.
Oh. Mm-hmm. What was that? What was it like there in comparison?
It was completely different.
Yeah.
I remember basically what had happened is I had fallen out with some of the UVW guys, and Farrell asked me to go to FXW because he was going there in the summer of that next year, and obviously I had knew him a bit now from the NAW stuff. So I went there, and to be honest, when I first got there, I thought it was really bad. It was kind of shit. I went there with Jackknife Joe Jackson. You might know him.
Yeah.
Diamond, and I can't remember who else. It was Grant. You might know him, you might not know him. Tempest. Went there with them, and we all thought it was really bad at first, but I kind of wasn't going to go back to UVW at that point because of the fallout that I had with them. So I was like, Well, you do. They hadn't fell out with them, so I was like, you do what you want, but I'm just going to stick it out here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was quite a trek every week. Actually, it was about 40 miles away. It was
Jeez.
like 2-hour bus and stuff.
Yeah.
But over time, it actually got really good. I don't know if it was because maybe we brought some of that and up the game, but then there was some other people come in, like Lance Thunder and Corrupt and Massacre. I don't know if you know them.
Yeah.
And they helped it get better as well. So it did get quite good actually after time. But it was totally different style as well. They didn't do, it was indoors on mats. It was a lot more clinical. It wasn't hardcore kind of stuff. So it was kind of totally different change. I think they thought the FXW people as well kind of didn't like us coming in, some of them anyway, because they had that clinical kind of style and they kind of frowned on the more hardcore style.
Right. Well, what was the falling out with the UVW guys? It was just some silly little...
It was just some silly stuff. Really, it's stupid when you look back on it.
Yeah.
Then there was this whole blow up between me and Pac, and kind of like they didn't want me back, kind of thing. We made up for it like not long after, but it was just stupid. It was just silly, really.
Yeah, I think most of us have had that kind of falling out, and then you look back on it, and it's just so petty. I think. Did you ever get to the point where you took backyard wrestling really seriously, maybe too much, or did you just
I would
take
say
it?
so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that annoyed me at the time was, I'll say back then, obviously, when you're young, you've got your head's very focused and you want to do something the way you want to do, kind of thing. So I had my flaws in that situation as well. But the thing that annoyed me at the time was, like these people, there was a couple of others that had come in with these new people to UVW, like there was Park and a few others with them as well. But the thing that annoyed me at the time was, and I can see it now from the FXW guys' point of view when we come in as well, it was kind of like they were wanting to change what we were doing, and I didn't like that. And it kind of peed me off.
Yeah.
So there was bad blood there as well. And then it just like spilled over one time. We had a big blowout. So I can't even remember what happened to cause it, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you have any particular matches that stand out that you had in UVW that you really liked, or?
I had quite a big feud with Tempest, and I kind of enjoyed that whole thing. I think, to be honest, I don't know what some of the UV guys would say. I was never as good as them, from a wrestling point of view, like Bonzi and Farage and stuff like that. They were way better than me. But I think some of the elements that we brought in, some of the ideas that like me and Tempest brought in, definitely helped to improve UVW. Like, we did the big spot where he went off remember the stairwell on UVW? I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah. I think
Big
so.
spot where he got pushed off the ladder through the table on that and stuff.
Yeah.
We were the ones that actually started bringing in actual tables and things like that, and actually doing like the flaming table spots and things like that. They had never done that before then. So yeah, I mean, I would say definitely we brought some of that. They had kind of just done it with what they had found, found a piece of wood, did that. We were the ones that actually started bringing pacing tables, MDF and things like that.
Yeah.
And doing that kind of thing.
When did you get on the forum? Were you ever like a active member on there, or?
Quite early, yes.
Yeah.
And
what did you think of it when you got on there?
At the time, when we first joined and we
Yeah.
sort of put our first MVs on the forum, again, because you're headstrong when you're that age and stuff, I kind of thought the other feds were shit. And we all did, not just me. We all did. We were like, oh, what are these people saying about us and things like that. They know where to judge us and things like that. And we all used to laugh and joke about it. Obviously, a little bit later on, we kind of had a friendly feud with ECW, Selby, Dave, and all them. Not a friendly feud, but in our eyes, we were always better than them. Even though the forum always said they were the best, and they said FXW were better than us as well. but in our eyes, we were always better than them. But hey, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. So, when did you kind of stop wrestling then? Because you stopped for a while, right?
Yeah.
Was that an FXW that you finished, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was FXW wanted to change the Fed to, like, they wanted to start changing it into an indie Fed kind of thing.
All right.
And they did, actually. 3CW it changed to. I just kind of fell out with it. It wasn't for me. I gave it a try, and then I was like, oh, it's too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always a fun thing for me. I never wanted to do it that way, you know, like professional level or anything
Yeah.
like that. So I just stopped going, basically, and then I didn't really do. There was nothing else around to sort of do.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stopped backyarding.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
I think it was It was either 2004, 2005.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly.
So it was at least a good year or more before you came to NEW, the new NEW.
Yes, actually,
Yeah.
it was about 2 years. I think I came to NEW and it was either mid or late 2006, I believe.
Yeah, it was. I think October 2006.
Yeah, so it must have been about late 2004, early 2005 that I'd stopped doing the before then.
Within that 2 years, did you still watch wrestling, or did you stop watching as well?
Yeah, I did watch.
Okay.
I did watch, yeah.
And how did it come about that you went to NEW? Did Steve give you a call, or were you the
I
person?
spoke to Steve, yes, but I can't exactly remember how it went down. I think I might have just talked to him on MSN or come on the forums or something like that.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another over the course of quite a while.
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 months, and then I ended up going down in October, as you see.
Yeah. And what was it? What did you find that to be like? Must
Very
have been
good.
Must be completely different because there was a lot of like newer people there.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of newer people. I remembered a lot of the people kind of from when I was leaving because the weird thing was those people were around, but when I was there, they were kind of not known. But I can remember the names and things. I could remember the names. Sorry,
Yeah.
from the when I was in it. Like I remember like your Fed. I remember like was it NME or something like that? Something like that. The one where like Evo and Jesus.
NMW.
That was it.
Yeah.
I remember them.
Mm.
I remember Ads because he was around when I was, around at the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of remember the BWF guys. That they were just kind of unknown though. But yeah, like you said, it was totally different sort of landscape.
Yeah. I was going to ask, who were your did you have any favourite backyarders to watch, like, around the time you were with UVW, or because you thought everyone else was shit, was it just more of a closed-off thing?
No, I did watch others. Probably my favourite to watch was Dave from ECW. I was a mega fan of Dave at the time. I used to love his style, like the big monster style and stuff. But yeah, it would be definitely him.
Yeah, Dave's awesome.
And other than that, pretty much I used to watch the ECW comps and a bit of, I can't remember what the Fed was called, but like Farrell and Pax Fed. I can't remember what it was called though. But they only had a couple of comps, but some of them were quite good as well.
Cool. And when you went to NEW in 2006, did you think like, right, I'm going to come back and come every month, or were you thinking I'm going to go back and do just one match, or what was the kind of mindset going into it?
At the time, I think it was kind of, I'll go and do one as I remember. I'm sure it was that I was just going to go for one. But then I enjoyed it. And Farrell said, why don't you, start doing it a regular thing? So then I did.
Yeah. Well, I remember when you came, and I think the way they kind of brought you into the show was that you were going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, that's what it was for.
And then Jesus Jr. came out, you did a little promo.
Yeah.
And challenged you to a match.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, because you were never really one of those guys who went to all the big interfeds, and like in like Welsh Fest and all that stuff. And so a lot of the BWF guys in particular, I think, weren't quite sure not who you were, but they hadn't seen you much, And I'll never forget, during that match, BWF was sat on the crash mats to watch him, sat down on the crash mats, and I could tell they were just waiting to kind of, judge you in a way. And you started the match, and you started like bumping really cleanly and stuff, and I just loved seeing their faces as they kind of looked at each other and shot. Oh, he's actually pretty good. You know what I mean? It was really cool, and then you had a really like fun WWE style match, and it was just great, and I was really surprised as well, and it was great to see you actually, make a return to it, I guess.
I think Jeeves was really good in that match. I think it was quite a good opponent to put me against for that comeback thing. Anyway.
Did you enjoy the match?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was really good. I remember being at the time though absolutely dead because I hadn't really done anything like that.
I bet, yeah.
And I remember going to after I went to the toilet to throw up because I was so done in from it.
So what were just your general thoughts of NAW, like your run there for, I guess it was just over a year or so?
I enjoyed it. Again, it was more of a fun thing for me. It was always about more of a fun level to me.
Yeah.
I always got on with Farrell, and I think he kind of put me with the right people as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good seeing all the like people like you and stuff like that I'd never seen before. And when I come back, then it was, I think, backyard, and it probably is like that a bit later as well. It was on a totally different level, kind of from where I had left. But the funny thing was, at least I feel, I don't know what other people think and stuff like that, a lot of the feds that I was in, I think, did influence backyard in quite a big way. Probably won't see it as much with FXW because they didn't release that many comps, but I could see NAW was kind of like a more advanced version of what FXW was. I'm sure Farrell would say the same if you asked him.
Right, yeah.
FXW was the first one to kind of do it indoors with mats and everything like that. That's what NAW kind of did. And the format was kind of the same with the promos and things like that and matches. It was similar kind of thing.
Yeah. Which did you enjoy more, the NAW or / FXW style with like, indoors, more of a with storylines and stuff like that, or the backyard and like, the on the ground and more of a rougher approach, I guess?
It's hard to say which I enjoyed more because we're both sort of different things, but
yeah, I suppose.
I would say from a fun perspective, I probably enjoyed doing the UVW outdoor stuff more because at the time it was really, really fun. But from how good I thought it was, obviously the NAW style, the FXW style was much better. I thought much better format.
Yeah. And did that make it easier for you to spend the money to travel down every month or so, however long?
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it if it was outdoors.
Yeah. When you turned up, like, immediately, like, I think it was the first time you came down, you travelled with Steve and Farage. And just the stories that were coming from your trip.
Yeah.
When Farage was sick.
Yeah.
And what are your memories of that trip with Farage? Because apparently he was sick on the coach on the way down or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
Farage is a legend. He's like, he's so funny to laugh at and with.
Yeah,
he can also
hilarious.
laugh at himself. But a lot of the times he doesn't realise when he's being funny kind of thing. And a lot of the times when you're laughing at him, you're not laughing at him in a malicious way or anything like that. You're just laughing at how funny the moment is. And I remember what ended up happening. We had to, at the time I lived actually quite close to him, so we got bus into the town where we were going to get the main bus down to London with. And it was at 12:30, I believe it was, or it might be 12 at night. I remember I met him in town. He already had a few beers on him. He drank these beers in town. As we were walking to the bus station, he decided to take a slash in some back alley and got pulled by the police. Talked his way out of that. We met Farrell at the bus station, got on the bus together. He was drinking on the bus. In the middle of the bus ride down, about an hour into it, he fell asleep. Woke up about an hour after that, went in the toilets. The smoke alarm was going off in the toilets because he was smoking in the toilets. The bus driver was going apeshit. He come back out, he was drinking again. Then we got to Victoria Station in London. He was absolutely dead by this point. We had to walk what Farrell said was going to be 30 minutes, ended up taking 2.5 hours. It was pitch black because we got there at 4:30 in the morning and it was in October. We ended up walking through some like gated community as well for about half an hour and then getting pulled over by security in the middle of it saying what he's doing here, he shouldn't be here, the road's that way. And I remember we went into McDonald's, I think at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He threw up in McDonald's. We then got on a bus going to Houghton Regis. He threw up on the bus. We got kicked off the bus. We got to the place. He threw up in the place, as you know.
Yeah.
It was just funny. He was like that for a couple of days, I remember, because I'm sure that first time I went down there, I'm sure we were there like 2 or 3 days because there was some SWF event.
Yeah, it was like
wasn't it Cold Fest, in fact?
I think it was called Classic Fest.
Yeah, I think that was after. I think the Classic Fest was after.
Oh, I don't know. It was one of the ones in the ring with the marquee over the thing.
And Farage didn't do his match on the first day as well. It might have been you. He was meant to be against that.
Yeah, we did the 2 days at NAW. He was passed out on the crash mat for the whole first day.
Yeah.
The second day he got better. He wrestled Nicky Blaze. Mm-hmm. The third day he got sick again.
Yeah.
I remember he was having an argument about you because he wanted you to lend him some money to get a hotel room or something.
Yeah. He wanted to go straight to the hotel then and there. He was like, I don't care, I want to go now. And I was like, well, I can't, give you the money to go now. Wait later.
Yeah. And then the fourth day, he did wrestle me like was planned on the third day. But yeah.
Yeah.
But that was when I first met you. The three of you were outside the building,
mm-hmm.
and you walked in, like, "Hi, I'm Del." Shook your hand, and then just looking past you, Farrell just like kind of bent over with his hand against the wall, throwing up.
Yeah.
Farrell was behind him, just laughing himself silly.
Yeah.
He just went, "He looks dead."
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't believe you're just laughing at someone.
Well, Farage would laugh at it though now, looking back.
Of course,
Might not laugh at the time, but he would. Yeah, he's a character and a half, Farage.
Definitely, yeah. And we had lots of funny stories and stuff like that at the NAW shows, and
oh yeah, definitely.
I always found, go on.
I was going to say, one of the things about me, I'm quite a quiet person to speak to generally. I mean, but I'm really I love like practical jokes and stuff like that, right? As you know, so we always used to do jokes and stuff like that. I don't know if you remember the one that I did. It's got to be the best one that I did in the hotel rooms when it was like, I'm sure it was like me, Farrell, might have been you, Alex, and someone else in one of the rooms, and then the other one it was like Dave, Farage, Nicky, and I can't remember who else it was.
Denzel.
Might have been Denzel, yeah. And if you remember, Farage was smoking weed throughout the whole day.
Yeah, this I've actually noted this down. Yeah. This is amazing. Go on, continue.
The next day, and he had been smoking it on the balcony out the hotel windows. You remember?
Yeah.
And I was like, right, we're gonna do a joke on him. So if you remember, I phoned his phone. I put on some really like stupid voice.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the manager from downstairs. The fire alarms are going off and stuff. What's happening? The fire brigade are on the way now and stuff. And Farage at the time, he'll deny it now, but at first he did believe it. Yeah. He thought it was real at first, and he was like, I remember him like putting his hand over the phone, like mouthing at Dave, like, shit, Dave, the fire brigade's on the way and stuff like that. And I just kept doing it, and then I hung up the phone eventually. And I think I phoned back and said, right, the fire brigade are downstairs, are coming up now, so make sure you open the door straight away or something like that. And then I remember we went to the door, I covered the eye hole, and I started banging on the door so you couldn't see who it was. And I was like, open the door now. Banging on the door. He opened the door, and I don't know if you remember, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. We went in the room, and he had opened like packs of the shower caps that you get in the
Yeah.
hotels, like disposable shower caps, and stuck them all over the smoke alarms. I was like, that's not going to stop the smoke alarm. There's a couple of things like that though that we did.
Actually, Denzel, who was in that room, he came into our room after the first phone call, and he was really paranoid about it.
Yeah.
But the thing that capped the whole thing off for me was that, and this might be what alerted Farage to the fact that it was you. Mm-hmm. I think he asked you who you were, what your name was.
Yeah.
And there was a little notepad next to you on the desk, and it was like Days Inn, Luton Hotel. And you said, "This is Dave, Luton."
Yeah. He did clock on after a bit, I remember, but the others were still, and he believed it at first.
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely.
But I actually remember hearing his voice as well, and the other line saying, "Dispatch them then, just dispatch them."
Yeah. It was so funny that.
Another funny memory of you was when we went, I can't remember when it was, some Newcastle show or something. A load of us were up there for some event. Mm-hmm. I guess it was a North NAW show. And we went to laser tag.
Oh yeah, I've just remembered that actually.
And we came out, and you'll get that little slip where it's like, this is how many people you shot or whatever, the ratios and all this.
Yeah.
And yours said that you hadn't been hit; you'd been hit 0 times.
Yeah, I remember that. And I kept that tag. I kept that for ages, didn't I?
Yeah. And you said something like, "Oh, I hacked the pack," you know. And it was just like,
yeah,
it's just funny. It's so funny that it was you who, for some reason, hadn't been hit at all.
Yeah. I remember, I'm sure it was Dave. Me and Dave had our little rivalry.
Oh yeah, that was another thing.
And I'm sure I was using it to wind him up for a while after that.
Definitely, yeah.
Because he come second or something, didn't he? And I come first because I didn't get hit. So I was just winding him up the whole time, saying I was dodging his lasers and things like
that. Dave is just such a funny character. I think you two really bounced off each other. Same with Farage as well, actually.
I think sometimes Dave thought I was being a bit OTT, but I never was. I was always doing it in jest. I was doing it in fun.
Well, one of the reasons I really enjoyed hanging out with you was because I think, like you said, you're quite quiet and stuff, and I'm quite similar. Mm-hmm. And but you had that sense of humor as well, which is always great, and would come out and stuff. Usually after the events, whenever the hijinks were. Yeah. In the hotels and stuff. Oh, speaking of hotels, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. It was the Days Inn Hotel in Luton. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was the same weekend as that phone call incident, but the woman who was drunk in the lobby. Do you remember this?
I remember it.
And
now.
she was starting on.
I know you're gonna say.
Oh, she was.
No, it wasn't me. She was starting on.
But that's why Farage got so like in her face, because she said something to you or something, and he kind of stood up for you. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I just remember him just face to face with this woman, just like.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of the words that were said, but it was just unbelievable. Do you remember much about it?
Oh, I remember this. It's really easy. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What actually happened was we were sitting in the lobby area. It was like me and Farrell were on one of the sofas, and I think it was like you and Alex were like on the sofa opposite.
Yeah.
And it was Nikki and SRF. We're playing on the games, like it was like some Deal or No Deal game or something like that.
Oh, right.
If you remember. And this drunk woman, had gone up and started mouthing off to them because she was like, what? I'm sure it was to Nikki. She was like, "What are you wearing shorts for? Who do you think you're, a boxer or something?" She was like, "Not remember." And then Farage got up from this seat that he was in, and he was like, "Yeah, man, who are you?" or something like that. It just kicked off, and then I remember I'm sure he left her, and then she started arguing with the staff. And Farage, while she was arguing with the staff, Farage went over to them and was like, "Just throw her out, man. Just throw her out." And then the police come, remember. Oh no, it wasn't quite the police. She went outside, I think, and then Farage was squaring up to her outside.
Yeah.
Like, totally in her face, like, as if there was a fight going to bust out.
Yeah.
And I remember Farrell was absolutely in hysterics. He was nearly tearing my arm off, telling us to look at it. He was just like sat on the seat, like grabbing me, like, because he thought they were going to fight. And he was like, they're going to fight. And I was like, nah, they won't. But then I remember the police come a bit after that. When the police were taking this woman away, Farage was just shouting down the street like, "Get on jail" and things like that. Like, it's so funny.
It was unbelievable.
There's
And
so many funny things from that hotel, though.
oh yeah, definitely. And the crowning moment of that whole thing was Farage had found a half-smoked cigar in one of the tables. He's like, "Oh, this is my victory cigar."
Then he went out and smoked it after it. Yeah.
And
You
then
don't remember when he bought the cigarette holder as well?
yeah. Smoker's Paradise.
Yeah, that was his favourite store.
Yeah.
He was in there every like Saturday or Sunday morning before we were meant to go back.
Yeah, some great memories, man.
Yeah.
Well, another memory that stands out for me with you, I think it was you were in some big tag match at NAW. And I think Danny Legend had this chair, one of those, like, you know, they had like the plastic folding chairs,
Mm-hmm.
and he just wrapped it around your head, like proper. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I can remember.
Absolutely, just smacked you right. And afterwards, we said, "Del, did that hurt?" And you said, "Nah, just fucking cane for a second."
Yeah.
That was just one of my favorite
Probably did hurt,
quotes.
but I probably just pretended it didn't.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. When you wrestled, it was almost like it fit your personality. You're very stoic, kind of, I guess. You'd never really break character that much, and it was just really cool because a lot of people would, you know, I never remember seeing you crack a smile during a match. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you just got me more into it whenever I'd see you wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Probably no more than I think the best match I've seen you in was against Dave, which is funny because you mentioned that you were a fan of his or you liked watching him and stuff at Britfest. What are your memories of that match? Because it was just so fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I really, it was one of my favourite matches. Like going back to it, and it wasn't the most clinical match or anything like that. In fact, there was a couple of instances where we fucked up and things like that.
It didn't need to be though.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed the fun factor of it. Like our characters, I thought it made the match more than the actual match itself, kind of thing. And I remember we literally didn't, because you know what Dave's like. He's another one that was smoking weed all the time back then.
Yeah.
I remember we literally didn't plan anything. It was just like, because he wasn't even there that day till the match. It was like he was just like, right, we're gonna do this. We'll work a few things out that we're gonna do, and then I remember the funniest thing, obviously, because Dave remembered me from back in the day as well. Funniest thing that he said to me was like, right, I want you to powerbomb me. And I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I says, we'll need to try it first. Then he was just like, you can. And I was like, how? And he's like, cause you're down. You're gonna powerbomb us. And I was like, all right, okay then. So I think we did practice it and stuff, but it was really fun match. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It's funny you mentioned that as well because that's another memory I have. Is seeing you like practicing something like behind the cars and the tents and stuff. I was like, what the fuck are they? And then you came up to me, you just walked past me and you went, I'm going to bomb Dave, you know. And I was like, fuck off, you're not going to bomb Dave. I thought you were winding me up, I honestly did.
Yeah, I think I did wind you up because I'm sure you would tell me that I should bomb him. I was like, no, I'm not going to or something.
Yeah.
Then I was like, then I was winding you up and then you were like, I think you were the only person that I told though.
Yeah, probably. And also I remember like when it was booked and I was like really looking forward to it. Some of the guys I was joking like, could you imagine if you actually tombstone Dave? And we were like, oh yeah, it'd be amazing. It'll never happen. And you did that as well, you know. It was just.
The funny thing is, like a lot of people, struggle to like do those kind of moves to Dave. I had no real issue with it at the time. It was easy on picking a lot of people up. Like I was throwing him around, power slamming and things like that.
Yeah.
It was no problem.
Yeah, I think people were surprised because you have quite a thin frame and stuff. But I think, you know, with cooperation, it can go a long way, you know?
Yeah.
That was just a great match. What were some of your favourite matches you had in NAW while you were there?
Well, definitely that one.
Of course, has to be up there.
The one that you mentioned with Danny Legend as well, I really enjoyed that. It was, I'm sure it was Danny Legend, Evo, and I can't remember who else it was. Someone else against me, Nikki, and I can't remember. I think it was Jeeves, maybe. I really enjoyed that one. Um, I don't know if you remember, the way we did that one was everyone else got pretty quickly eliminated, and it was just me against Evo and Danny Legend for like
Ah,
most of the match, if you remember.
I just remember the chair shots. It was so ridiculously brutal.
And then I enjoyed the one I had with the other Dave, actually.
Oh yeah, of course you had like a little feud, didn't you, building up for a
Yeah,
while?
yeah. I actually really enjoyed that one. I was disappointed by the first one that I had with Brendan, but I really enjoyed the second one, which was weird because the first one was on like a main show and the second one was on just one of the like the massacre shows, I believe they were called then or something.
Huh.
You know, what were the sort of TV equivalent ones that did called? I can't remember them.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, I think it was just like No 1 or 2, something like that, wasn't it? Or we had the fusion ones, which were like the lesser one. Then there was another one. I
Oh,
can't.
Collision.
Collision, yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The one that I had with Brendan on Collision, I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. Oh, was that what? Did he give you a move off the horse on that one or something?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah, the
I can't
spinning.
remember what his finisher was, but it was
Yeah,
finisher off the
that was
horse.
nuts.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then you.
I was like, right, because the match that we had before that, the month before, we had it at Love Hate in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And I was kind of disappointed by it, even though it got good pops and things like that. I was
Yeah,
kind of
everyone's going
disappointed
nuts
by
because
it.
you're in Newcastle.
Yeah. And I said to Farrell, I want to do it again. He was like, well, how can we do it again? And I say as well, we'll just make some story of that he's challenging me again just because I want to end it. I'd rather end it on a better note kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, we need to do something. I remember it was the first match on the Collision as well, and I was like, right, we need to do something big. So I was like, why don't you just do your finisher on me off the top of the horse? You didn't believe me at first. He was like, we can't do that. And I was like, of course we can. So we just went into it.
Yeah, I can't remember most of that. But I remember the Newcastle one because the crowd was just nuts into it and it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I know sometimes that, yeah, you kind of become your own worst critic and stuff like that. What was your last NEW match? Do you remember? Well, I guess it would be your last match that you ever did.
I honestly can't remember.
No, I can't either.
I can't remember what it was, no.
Yeah.
Might have been against Denzel. I had a match against him.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Might be in that one.
that was a good little match. That one actually.
Yeah, it was alright. It was quite quick, fun match, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. I think it might have been that one.
And why did you suddenly like disappear? Because I remember it wasn't really like mentioned why you stopped coming, and then no one really spoke to you for a long time.
Yeah. It was just a lot of personal issues for me.
Okay. Yeah.
At the time, my gran she had dementia and she passed away. So it was like,
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, it was like a lot of personal issues, and I kind of just got wrapped up in it.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And then it was a couple of months after that where I was like kind of normal again. And then I was like, I don't know why I didn't ever come back, to be honest with you. I probably should have, but I was just like, I couldn't be bothered kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just never made the jump back.
Fair enough. What do you make of your backyard wrestling days now that they're over? Like when you think back?
Fun,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, people say they have regrets and stuff, but I honestly, I'm quite lucky. I feel like in the way things worked out, like the whole thing with UVW when I left there and stuff, it could have went a lot different, and that could have been the end, but it didn't because I met Farrell and things like that. Went to FXW. To be honest, Farrell's like, I've got to give props to him. He's a lot the reason that I got went different places and things like that.
Yeah.
Because he was one of the people that I always had contact with, kind of thing. So yeah, definitely, I wouldn't regret it.
Cool. And do you think about it much these days, or is it just like it comes up when someone like me says, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?"
I don't really think about it too much. I still remember it. I see like Farage, Bonzi, Americana, Smiley, like pretty much at least once or twice a month. So
Oh,
we
nice.
sometimes talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's always keeps it in your memory. But other than that, I don't really talk about it. Farage, was telling me he did a match only a couple of years ago as well. Yeah, but he's done in now. He's not going to do any more, I don't think.
How are all those guys? I haven't spoken to them for a long time.
Pretty much the same as
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much the same. To be honest, no, not really any difference.
Yeah. Any particular like favorite memories you have from your whole time, like whether it be a funny moment or just a match or an event?
Probably the funny moments. I think much more than the wrestling itself was also the friendships and stuff like that. Definitely just the NEW stories were some of the best ones ever.
Yeah.
The stories and the things that we used to do. I remember once we went to one of the funniest memories. We went to some like pub. It was like a bowling alley or something. You not remember it?
Yeah, I think so. In Luton, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember the funniest thing. DOD press slammed Napalm and nearly put him through a window. I remember
What?
that in the middle of the pub because they were drunk on the dance floor. I was like, what? Just picked him up and fell back, nearly put him through the window. I was like, oh my god. I'm sure we got kicked out that night. And then Ross got in like a digger or a bulldozer or something, and it was like started up and he drove it as well.
What?
I was like, you don't remember that?
No,
it was like
I must not have been there.
forklift or something. I can't remember.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's so many things. Like I couldn't even remember the fight until you brought it up to me again. There, that fight that woman had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were some of your favorite people to actually wrestle with?
Farage was always probably one of my favorites. We actually had a lot more matches than people realise. Billy, I really enjoyed the match that I had with him as well. I really enjoyed Billy's style as well. Really like aggressive style and stuff. I thought he was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know really. I pretty much I can't really think of a bad moment. I think Brendan was a bit nervous.
Right.
Always when I don't know if did you ever have a match with Brendan?
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah, I don't know what you thought. I thought he was quite a bit nervous. Maybe that was just me though.
I
Dave,
think
really good, both of them.
Oh yeah, of course. I think maybe with Brendan, when you first wrestled him, that was in Newcastle, right? And that's like in front of like Barnsley and stuff like that. Maybe that added to it, I guess.
It could have, yeah. He did seem a bit nervous though. He was always like, I remember calling stuff and he was always like, what? And I was like, do I have to shout it? But yeah. But I was always a fan of WCWE, Dave as well. I always enjoyed Dave's style as well. And I definitely enjoyed working with him as well.
You kind of named him in a way. I
Yeah,
only heard this a few months ago. I didn't realize that it was you who not came up with, but saw the when you tell the story.
The tank story.
Yeah, the tank. Yeah.
I can't remember how I made it up, to be honest.
Oh no, it was. I think Alex told me a few months ago that you saw this poster or something, and it was for local wrestling, and it was like someone the tank.
Yeah.
And you just turned and said, right, you're Dave the Tank Williams or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a great name as well.
Yeah. And then that was just him then, from then on.
Yeah.
And it really fit him as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I wish we'd had a match. I know we talked about it a couple of times. And the only interaction we had was, I think it was some big Battle Royal or something at SWF.
Yeah.
And you said, oh, give me a DDT. So I think that's basically all we ever did.
Yeah, I think that's probably all we ever did. It's a shame that we didn't ever have a match. 'Cause I think, even though I was only there a little bit over a year, I think I pretty much had at least a match with pretty nearly everyone.
Yeah.
On the roster, at least. But you were one I never did. I don't think I did with Alex as well, actually. I don't think I ever did anything with him as well.
You were definitely supposed to wrestle at one point, I remember. But I guess plans always change, don't they?
Oh, yeah, because people didn't show up, things like that.
Yeah. Speaking of SWF, I have another flashback memory just then. It must have been a match you had with Farage. And you gave him a choke slam off the ring. Oh.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I can't remember it fully. To be honest, that match wasn't as good as it could have been.
No, he was just wearing like a baseball jacket or something.
Well, he was stoned again.
Yeah.
He was stoned. He didn't want to have the match, but I was really hyped for it. And I was like, I shouldn't have done it, but I was like, I pretty much forced him to have the match. I was like, you're fucking having the match because I'm sitting here, I'm freezing. We're meant to have the match. We're having the fucking match.
Yeah.
So, I remember he was stoned and at the time he didn't seem to have the energy, but
Hmm.
yeah, he still took that bump. Like, I think he gave me a couple of nasty bumps in that match
Yeah, I
as well.
remember thinking there was some, but I just, yeah.
I can't remember what the stuff was, but I'm sure like he did something. I'm sure he might have holocausted me off the side of the ring or something like that. It was something like that.
Yeah.
He did that. The worst thing that I've ever took, like pain wise, wasn't anything like off the top or anything like that. It was Billy. I can't remember what that move that he used to do was, but when he used to pick you up on his shoulders like a fireman's carry, then he used to like dive into it.
Yeah, I know.
It's-
Yeah.
Can't remember what it was called, but I took one of them off the apron to the
Oh.
outside on SWF. It was just devastating. I was like really done in, and that the dead weight drop he used to do as well, that killed me. I was purely injured after that match, but I enjoyed it anyway. It was good.
Yeah, those are really two hard bumps.
Yeah, but that's his style.
Oh yeah, of course. Are you how are you doing like pain wise now? It's been so many years, but
I'm fine, really.
yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah,
good.
probably recovered because it's so long. I was always fine, really. I never had. I know, like Farage keeps complaining that he's got bad back and things like that.
I'm not surprised with the stuff he used to do.
Yeah, I'm sure you are the same, but I'm pretty fine. I think I never really took anything too extreme, and I was normally the one doing the moves, not getting the moves. So
Yeah,
that
I
probably
suppose.
helped me. Because I was always the bigger person, so naturally it would be me doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty much fine.
Who were some of your favorite people to watch wrestle like throughout the NEW period?
Throughout the NEW period,
Yeah.
you were definitely one of them. And as a compliment, I remember when I first come in, compared to when I left, you were totally different, much better, I think, than when
Yeah, I
first
went through
out.
quite an improvement, I think.
Definitely. Um, and Dave's the same. When I
Oh,
first came in to when I
even
left,
more so. Dave's
completely
yeah,
different.
Dave's improvement was ridiculous.
Um, Other than that, some of the other people that I really, again, ECW Dave, really enjoyed watching him. Costa, though, we really enjoyed watching him as well. DOD, pretty much everyone, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm just going to name everyone, so
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it all. I remember the first match I seen when I come there was, I don't know if you remember, it was the cruiserweight table match or something like that.
Yeah, Nikki and SRF.
Yeah, that was one of my favourite matches ever. Like, from going there, and I'm not normally into that kind of style, the cruiser style,
Yeah.
but I really enjoyed that one as well.
Nice. Yeah, that was a really insane one. Some big bumps
Yeah,
in that match.
definitely. It was perfect. Like it opened how it opened the show as well, I think.
Yeah. Did you ever go to any of the Heat Fests?
No, I actually did. I think I went to one.
Did you?
Maybe.
Huh.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, because they kind of bleed over. There was a couple of shows that NAW did in the same area.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why I'm thinking maybe. I remember a couple of times we did like an NEW show, and then we went there, did a couple of shows, but I can't remember if it was Heat Fest or not. I remember I think we did two Cold Fests. I did two Cold Fests because the first time I ever come there we did one, then I think I did another one.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I did another one, in fact, because I remember, one of the things I remember actually, speaking of painful stuff, right, I'm sure one of the things that you took, what hurt the most, I remember you getting holocausted on the concrete outside. I'm sure that was Cold Fest.
Yeah.
That brutal, that.
Yeah, that was painful. But then straight after that, Farage was going to give me a sit-out powerbomb off the apron through a table.
Mm. Did that happen? I can't remember it.
Well, he picked me up for it and couldn't get the positioning right, so we kind of piss-assed around for a bit. Then he got me up for it again, and I guess he just thought fuck it, and he just let go of me. I just turned it into like a jackknife powerbomb instead, and the back of my head just went straight to the table, hit the floor.
All right, nasty. I remember though. I don't know if you agree. Some of the moves I used to remember. Always, if you're going to do like a big move that is going to hurt, you should always try and do one that looks good but doesn't hurt as much as it looks.
Yeah.
But that one that you did, the Holocaust, I was like, it probably looks about average, but it probably hurts a lot more than like it's not worth the payoff if that makes sense. You know what I
I
mean?
definitely agree. It didn't look great. But it didn't actually hurt that much, really. It wasn't too much
Didn't
of a
I?
drop. No, I
I
sold.
remember. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying I sold it more than it than it hurt.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I always thought that like concrete bumps, they're gonna hurt a lot more than you're gonna get a payoff for them if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Like
think so.
they don't look as spectacular as what you get for them. Like probably like you said, the bomb off the apron through the table looks better than a bomb on concrete, but what's gonna hurt more?
Yeah.
Bomb on concrete's gonna hurt fucking way more. Um, so yeah, I tried to always consider, right, is this worth it for what it's gonna get, or is it gonna fucking kill me?
Yeah.
I remember I only ever took one thing on concrete, and that was it. I'm never gonna do that again.
What was
It
it?
was I got power bombed. It was through a table in fairness, but it was on the concrete. But that broke the fall a bit. From Jackknife Joe
Oh yeah.
through a table on the concrete. Now it really hurt. I was like, I'm never gonna. You know when you've got like it wasn't pins and needles, but I literally couldn't feel my arm. I had no
Wow.
strength in my arm, and I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Huh. Were you ever like scared of getting hurt before a match or anything? Like even particularly when you're doing like the ultra, quote unquote ultra violent stuff at UVW?
Not really.
No.
As I said, I used to always. I don't know about you, but I was one of these people that always kind of thought about what it was and was it worth it for what I was going to get out of it, and how could I do it properly so it wouldn't hurt, kind of thing. I know a lot of people are different. Like Farage, I know he's more like he knows it's going to hurt, and he just gets himself psyched up to the point where.
Yeah.
But I'm like a little bit more laid back than that.
Yeah.
I kind of assessed things.
Well, I was going to ask you actually if you regretted any of the backyard wrestling, but you've already said that you don't really.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear that you still hang out with Farage and Barnsey and stuff.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of us who I think just kind of splinter off. I mean, everyone splintered off when it kind of died, but even like the home group feds would sometimes not see each other anymore without the wrestling there to bring them together.
Do you still see the? I mean, I know you told me you're living in Norway now, but when you go back, do you ever see them and stuff?
I do, yeah. We even did an event like late December 2013, which was a lot of fun. But I mean, yeah, I suppose so. It's just I think people just kind of move on a bit, but that's just the way it is, really.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you enjoy reminiscing about it and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely like to see people again, maybe meet everyone.
Yeah, I did the podcast I did yesterday, recorded yesterday, was with GBH, and we were saying how we can meet up our own, home fed groups, meet up with guys that we used to wrestle with, but as far as everyone around the country all getting together in one place, it's not really going to ever happen again because, there always needed to be a wrestling show, But it would be cool if we somehow organised something where, we weren't going to wrestle, but we're all going to meet up and, see people we wouldn't ordinarily see.
Well, an example would be a couple of us are talking about going to Reading or Leeds Festival,
Yeah.
things like that. If other people went to things like that, maybe
Yeah.
you could do things like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's something that. Oh, what's to say we can't just meet up?
Exactly, yeah. But then again, it's backyard, people are lazy and
Yeah.
unreliable.
True. That used to annoy the hell out of me. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's one of my biggest pet hates in backyard. People like being unreliable just used to really, really annoy me.
Yeah. Well, to like anyone in your life now who wasn't part of that, would you ever even mention it or bring it up, or would you shy away from the fact that you did it?
I wouldn't mention it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if they brought it up, I wouldn't deny it in the same fact.
Yeah.
I don't know. Depends what context it was.
It does, yeah, no, because I find like I wouldn't shy away from it either, but like a couple of times, like one of my dad's mates will say, oh, we saw that wrestling you did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay. It's just you don't know how to explain it to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you did it, really.
The thing is, I don't know what you guys were like around family and stuff like that, but we were always pretty open about it with our families in the day in UVW. Like, for example, we used to go to Farage's mum's to edit the shows and stuff, so she knew that we were doing it. My parents knew. Bonzi's parents knew. We used to go to Joe's after the shows to watch the shows, and his parents knew. Funny story, actually. Joe, obviously, Jack Knight Joe back then, he's always big. You know, he's like 6'2". He was pretty big back then. His dad was quite small, so he used to pick his dad up and do moves on him in the sitting room when we're watching the shows.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Did you ever wrestle Pac or Bonzi or?
Bonzi, yes, twice.
What was it like wrestling him?
Well, it was I had a triple threat with him, and then I think the other one we had was a tag match. So we never had like a one-on-one type match.
Okay, yeah.
I think the triple threat was me, him, and Craig, if you remember little Craig. Yeah, it was fun, but it worked well. We did it at like it wasn't an Interfed, but it was like the NEW guys and the UVW guys. We did like a mixed show, and we were the main event on that show.
Yeah.
But it was quite fun because we all had kind of different styles, and we did some really good ideas. I think the match ended with me, Tombstone and Bonzi, and Chokeslam and Craig at the same time. So it was quite...
What? How does that even work?
That was a one-arm chokeslam on Craig.
What? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it was quite good.
Alright, well, thanks for doing this, man. It was good to talk to you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, a lot of funny memories.
Definitely.
Love to just talk about Farage all day. Just endless amounts of humour and hilarity can come out of Farage stories, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on. I'll probably speak to you on Facebook and stuff, but yeah, take it easy, man.
You too. Thanks.
Nice one. Take care.
Bye.
Alright, that was it. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Del. Always one of my favourite people to hang out with in NAW. Really just enjoyed his stoic sense of humour and his wrestling and all that stuff, and the classic moments with Farage. But yeah, again, if you enjoyed this and you'd like to hear more from Del, I might be willing to edit the other stuff that I have and maybe release a little kind of bonus podcast that won't be part of the weekly schedule. But let me know. Just comment in the Facebook group or wherever you end up commenting on it, even if it's just privately to me in a message. And we'll see you next week, next Monday, as always, for Back to the Yard, where Alex will be hosting another installment. See ya.